We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching NUFC Matters in the world. It is Steve Wraith, going to do a live Q&A for the next hour. Before we start looking at Newcastle United, how good was it to see Super Mac, Malcolm MacDonald, back on the channel last night? He looked so fit and well, been through a hell of a battle over the last 12 months, as he explained last night. But it was just great to sit back and listen to him and Gibbo wax lyrical about Newcastle United. It's, another one of those shows on this channel, which when it's missing, you miss it. You know what I mean? It's just great to see Super Mac back on our channel and just looking so calm, collected and relaxed. And the usual banter will be back next Thursday, 6 o'clock. So looking forward to that. But thanks to everybody who asked after him week after week after week, and the comments in the under the video have started to mount up in the last 12 or so hours since we did the show, and it's it'll be quite emotional, I think, for Malcolm, all of that. But thanks to everybody who joined us last night, and those of you who haven't watched it, it's up there now. Just give it a watch. I'm sure you will enjoy it. As always, this hour is a chance for me to have a cuppa and have a natter with you guys, and just basically have a look at the questions that you put to us. Tom Dixon, you were first in. Have a quick drink of my coffee, and he says, "Do you think we'll get Whizzer in before the window closes?" And he said the only place he wants to be is Newcastle. I mean, I love the fact everyone calls him Whizzer because he is a whizzer. But yeah, Johan Whizzer certainly is somebody who just wants to come to Newcastle United. There's no doubt about that. This edit to Arsenal has come as a bit of a shock to Tottenham. Deal all confirmed now this morning. They've agreed a £67.5 million deal with Crystal Palace, plus add-ons. So Spurs now still looking for a winger. And it's likely that they're going to let Richarlison go, who I wouldn't touch with a barge pole, by the way. And they are going to need to bring somebody in. And that looks as if, at the moment, Johan Whizzer is top of the list. However, Whizzer does want to come to Newcastle. The only issue I would see, and it's double-handed, I guess, we've both got Champions League, but Thomas Frank is the manager at Spurs. I wouldn't be surprised if Whizzer at least gave him the dignity of a meeting to see what he had to offer. That's where the problem could lie. But can Spurs pay the same wages as Newcastle or better wages than Newcastle at this moment in time. Probably because they were one of the cartel, probably still are. But I think Wiss has seen enough of Newcastle and what Eddie Howe's doing. And I think he probably feels that he could get, maybe even get a shot, at winning something at Newcastle. Maybe he doesn't see that at Spurs. But it's an interesting situation, one which we'll watch. But your question, Tom, was, do you think we'll get him in? I do think we'll get him in. And I think we'll probably find ourselves spending in the middle. We won't go to the 60 that they want. We'll probably have to get to 50, I think, to get him in. But that's just my opinion. John, good morning. You'll have to excuse me as well because I've still got this stinking cold and it's not pleasant at all. John says, a world-class striker deserves a world-class deal. Why did Paul Mitchell deny Isak one? Who was he looking after? And will lessons be learned? Well, John, a lot of that at the moment is not hearsay, but it's not fact. It's not a fact. It's what people have reported. It's what people are saying online. The fact that Isak has come out and said promises were made and not kept means we can speculate who made the promise. Many are speculating that it was a Amanda and Mirdad. Nobody knows if it was Manda and Mirdad. It could have been the chairman. It could have been Jamie Rubin. It could have been anybody. It could have been Darren Eales, our CEO. It could have been anybody who's involved at that level at Newcastle United. Nobody knows who made that promise. Paul Mitchell, who was obviously in that position, not for very long, as sporting director, is now being cast as the villain and the person who rejected said promise. Again, nobody knows if that's true or not. It's newsworthy to speculate, and people are speculating, but nobody knows for definite that the conversation was between Paul Mitchell. A lot of people are saying that the way that Isak has put this out there, it's the only person who's communicating is Eddie Howe. A lot of people are saying he's leveling it at Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe, by his own admission, isn't involved in those kind of discussions. So it's all rumours at the moment. Nobody really knows who promised who what and who reneged on that promise or who said that promise isn't coming to reality. But reading between the lines, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to work out who was involved when he arrived at the club and who was involved when he departed when he tried to depart the club. So, yeah, will lessons be learned? I'm sure there will once a new sporting director comes in. But it's an interesting scenario that has played out. He's got 12 days left to sort this mess out, Isak. He really has. And at the moment, it doesn't look like Liverpool are coming back in. All of that can change in seconds. We could see it flash up on Sky that there's a new bid come in. But it is a fascinating time. And I just hope that we get two forwards in to complement Isak if he stays or to replace Isak if he goes. Simple as that. I find it very difficult for Alexander Isak's move to Liverpool to materialise now. For two reasons. Liverpool have got Ekitike. They don't need him. They've got Salah. They've got plenty of options up front. Secondly, Newcastle United will want to hold firm and not appear to be a club that you can do this kind of thing to. That's very important moving forward. John also says Liverpool will be great for them and bad for us. He's gone about things the wrong way, but Mitchell's dealings were appalling. Just get around the table, give him a great contract and move on. I'll play devil's advocate on that, John, with Mitchell. His dealings were appalling. He wasn't here long enough to do big business. And by the sounds of it and by the looks of it, the power clash, the clash between individuals at the club has probably been the reason that he hasn't done a great deal. He has brought a lot of youngsters in, and we could be sitting in 2 or 3 years' time looking back on the Mitchell era and going, Mitchell brought him in. Mitchell brought him in. Mitchell brought him in. There's players he's brought in who essentially could be the next big thing, the next Elliot Anderson, the next Lewis Miley coming through. Who knows? But the time to judge Mitchell, I guess, will be when those players come through and we see whether they're good enough or not. But I wouldn't say that it was a complete waste of time. And he is being painted as the villain. There's no doubt about it. Do you agree that without Isak, our chances this season are significantly undermined? Selling him to Liverpool is like shooting ourselves in the foot. But what do you think? Our season is undermined if we don't replace him. If we don't bring people who can score goals in, we are going to struggle. At this moment in time, it looks like we'll struggle to score goals. It looks as if he's going to persist with Gordon through the middle, Alanga on the right, Barnes on the left, but I'm not sure. Willock's fit this weekend. That's great news for Monday night's game. And Willock's, I've said this before, Willock could play centre forward. He could play a makeshift centre forward on Monday night. Running in, he scored 7 goals in 7 games. He knows where the back of the net is. It's up to Eddie to coach him into that way, but I think that gives us more of an option rather than having Gordon up front. I'm not saying that's a long-term replacement as a centre forward, by the way, not in a million years. I'm just looking at other options until we get other players in. And I don't think selling him to Liverpool's right. Liverpool are a rival, whether anybody else likes us saying that or not. Newcastle United won the Carabao Cup last year and qualified for the Champions League. 2 years ago, Newcastle got to the Carabao Cup final and got to the Champions League. Newcastle United, along with Aston Villa and 1 or 2 others, are really upsetting the apple cart with the top 6. And we are a team which are going to continue to do this. So for me, yes, selling Liverpool will be shooting it in the foot because they're a rival to us. You'd like to think, really, that we can continue to bring in good players to support players like Isak. That's what we want to do. So yes, it would be like shooting ourselves in the foot, 100%. Morning, Les. Thank you for doing all the usual advertising and sharing, etc. Great stuff. Andrew, good morning, mate. Brilliant seeing Super Mac back on yesterday, mate. It was great. It really was. He's got a wonderful turn of phrase, a lot of experience, and he's a legend. In 25, 30 years' time, will we see Alexander Isak sitting on a podcast, with Newcastle fans week after week talking about the frustrations of being a Newcastle fan? I very much doubt it. But yeah, it's great. I've got so much respect for that guy, and not my hero. I never saw him play, of course, but I know he's a lot of your heroes, and I know a lot of you saw him play. So, Kenny, good morning. Is Isak still a Toon player the 2nd of September, do you think, Steve? Yes. I can't see him leaving. I genuinely can't see him going. I know he wants to go. He's made it quite clear. I still think, like I said on the last Q&A that I did, other things are in play here. I still think we have issues between our owners and Liverpool's owners, which go further than football. And I think that's played its part in this whole sorry mess. And Isak really is collateral damage and all of that. That's what I feel. That's my opinion. I could be completely wide of the mark, but the owners of our club and Liverpool's club have business dealings and connections elsewhere, and it just feels as if that could potentially be the reason that there is maybe it's darker arts at play. I could be completely wide of the mark, of course, but it just feels like that. But is Isak still a Toon player on the 2nd of September? I just don't see anybody coming in for him. And the longer it goes with Newcastle not being able to bring in anybody at all, then the needs of the club are greater to get him back on side and get him to play. But it's going to be a cauldron of white noise on Monday. I have seen this before, of course, with players, and players come and go. No player is bigger than the club, but it's, it's a long way back for Alexander Isak. If he has to stay and knuckle down and play for Newcastle again, it's going to take a monumental apology, a huge outpouring of, whatever it is, to humility, being humble and apologizing. It's going to need that to get back on side with our supporters. It's gone far too far. He was ill-advised putting that statement out. He really was. Getting the new agent, I just don't know. But it's, at this moment in time, it's for me, I just can't see him leaving. I do want to thank Jeff. I can see you in the chat, Jeff. Thank you so much for your donation to the Malverno Fund last night. But thanks also for your coffees. I've just seen them have come in, so thank you very much for that. You can obviously donate a coffee, which is Malverno, really. We'll just put it to one side for the lads as they come over and when they do their trip over. And we are talking about potentially doing a professionals live in Newcastle for dementia, potentially in October. That's when Stu and Mitch will both be in the UK, I think. So we will keep you posted on that. That should be a cracking night if we can get it done. Alas, someone who can talk over Gibbo, brilliant bloke, reincarnated Geordie. Thanks, Jeff. That's talking about Supermac, of course. What do you make of Wissa's desire for the number 9 shirt to be part of our French African heritage? I mean, I've not seen anything from Wissa, and I don't believe he's come out and said anything. Has he got a desire for the number 9 shirt? If he has, I think it's great. I think anyone who's got desire to play in that, wonderful, wonderful shirt, and who can do what he did. Bear in mind, he scored 19 goals last season. Now, Alexander Isak scored 23. Alexander Isak scored 4 penalties. So, actually, they both scored 19 goals each last season, Wissa and Isak. So, I think in an ideal world, Isak has to reintegrate, has to stay at the football club and plays up front with Wissa. Wow, what a combination that would be. We could all be looking at a completely different playing field in the next month if that has to happen. But if he's got a desire to play in the number 9 shirt, I know a lot of people say you've got to earn it, but it's there, it's vacant, and if he's confident enough to say, I want it, give him it. That's what I would do. I just hope it gets done before Monday, well in time for him to be on the bench on Monday, because he can come straight in. He could come straight in. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, I think that's great, David, if that is true. Who's the most corrupt person you've met in football? I won't name him, Jeff, but it was a referee. And it was corruption because the guy didn't like me very much at the time, although we're friends now. And I was playing centre-half for a team that I managed in Felling. And anyone who played Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon football would know that we didn't have linesmen. Assistant referees, as you call them now. But you only had a referee who you'd pay for him to come and his travelling expenses. The linesmen were only there to do throw-ins, and it was always somebody selected from each side. But we were 0-0 in a cup game against a local rival. I was centre-half. I was last man. And the ball came over the top of our midfield, over the top of the centre-half I was playing with. It bounced over my goalkeeper on this hard ground, and I managed to run back, and I hooked it off the line and behind for a corner. The referee that didn't like us at the time gave a goal, and we lost 1-0. That was a bit of payback from him, I think. But that was corruption at its finest level, Jeff, at its highest level. Do you think we get a striker in, Steve, before the window shuts? Morning, Chippers. Yes, I do. I do think we'll get a striker in, mate. I do think Wissa will come to Newcastle. I think he wants to come. I think he'll come. I think he will do, he will do what, I said earlier. I think he'll go and speak to Spurs and speak to Thomas Frank, but his mind's made up, isn't it? He wants to come to Newcastle. And we could end up in that kind of bizarre situation where Tottenham bid more, Newcastle bid less, but he wants to come to Newcastle, so that's where he ends up. Ring any bells, Ekatike? Sesko, I mean, sorry, not Ekatike. So yeah, that's where we could end up. But yes, 100%, mate, I do. I wanted to ask this to the professionals the other day, but arrived too late to the show. So I ask you, Steve, why are we not looking at Ivan Toney, Premier League proven, excellent penalty taker, etc.? Morning, Lee. Ivan Toney, somebody who I've championed on here 5 or 6 times in transfer windows over the years, and somebody who I would say that he would do a decent job for Newcastle now. Tammy Abraham is the other one who I've championed on here. I just think that the maturity that Toney has now would benefit us. But yeah, him or Tammy Abraham would have suited me in the window with another, with Wissa. I knew nothing about Sesko. I do laugh when we get linked with players and people suddenly say, oh, yeah, great. Yeah, I've seen it on other podcasts, clips that I see and stuff like that. Waxing lyrical about players who they clearly haven't watched. They've just done a Google search, looked on Wikipedia, got his stats, and then sit and quote, as if it's the next big thing. I knew nothing about Sesko. I knew nothing really about Oshman. I don't watch foreign football. I watch the Champions League in the later stages, and I watch the Champions League when Newcastle are playing. But people might say, well, maybe you should do your research when you're on a podcast. But why do I need to sit and watch hours of football? I don't need to do that. No, I'll make a comment on somebody when I've seen them play for Newcastle. That's what I am, a Newcastle podcast. I value other people's opinions if they sit and watch the games. There's people on Sky Sports who are experts in the Italian league, the German league, etc. And that's the place maybe to go and find out what these players are about. But yeah, I think Ivan Toney's a good shout, mate. And I think Tammy Abraham was a good shout. But as long as we need strikers that can complement each other, that can play together, not two replacements. We need somebody to replace Wilson. And if Isak did go, we'd need somebody to replace him. That's the hard one to make. But yeah, I think Ivan Toney's a good shout. Morning, Alan. I seen your message last night. I think it was you, or it might have been Muzza, about the art exhibition. I'm going next week, mate. I bought a ticket. Well, I'm saying I bought a ticket. It's free. But at the Baltic, they are doing an art display to celebrate Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup, and the Carabao Cup's going to be there. And it's there for the next few days. I think you're going to a launch night tonight, if I believe. You might stick it in the chat. But I'm going next week, yeah. When I'm out on my walk, I'll pop over. Question: what do you think of the Saudi plan for sport and leisure as it affects NUFC? Jeff, I've not seen it. Is my answer. And I know a little bit about it. The lads know more about it, of course. But from my perspective, the Saudis are working towards their big year, which is it 2030 or 2031, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Jeff. You tell me. I've no idea what that is. I've not looked into that, to be honest. I'm a Newcastle man, not a Saudi man. Richarlison has plenty of ability, but is inconsistent. Isak has vast ability and is consistent. Wasn't consistent at the start of the season or the end of the season, though, John. Again, people tying that to the disappointment maybe that he didn't get what he was allegedly promised. I think Richarlison has had a lot of issues, well publicized issues. Is Isak going to have this mental issue now? Me and the lads were chatting in the WhatsApp group this morning, and yeah, I think Steve mentioned it. It's it's got to be affecting him mentally. It's going to affect everybody at the club. After the last game of the season, Isak and Yasser were walking across the pitch with hands on shoulders, and Isak looked happy. What changed? Tapped up. Yeah, I think, again, my opinion, David, I do think he was tapped up. And I think that's why Liverpool came in with such a low ball bid. I think, I think a lot of people feel that. I think Newcastle probably feel that. And yeah, I I find it very difficult to accept that he went from being happy and, quoting Geordie on the stage to then suddenly not wanting to be a Newcastle player. And, I just found it very, very strange, like you all did. Does Darren Neal still have influence at the club? Is the same gravy as Amanda and Mirdad? Is he the same gravy? Well, Darren Neal's should have stepped down. I don't know what is going on, John, with that. Darren is still ill. We wish him well. I believe that he still receives treatment in the Northeast, but his contract finished at the end of June. Now I saw rumours, and I must insist it was rumours, people saying that he'd been asked to stay on and do things. Does he have the same influence? Is he the same gravy as Amanda Mirdad? Well, he did well, didn't he? In America, did well in his previous club, but I don't know. I don't know Darren Neal's well enough to say that. I know Amanda and Mirdad well enough. What they are very good at is PR. They are very good at PR, and they were very good at communicating. And because of Amanda's personality and her nature, she could tell you, that she was putting the season ticket up by 500 quid, and you'd be, she'd be smiling and telling you that, and you'd be happy to pay it. That's the kind of person Amanda is. I don't think Darren Eales is. I know George has had a lot to say about Darren Eales on here, but Darren just come in and done the job. I didn't like the certain things. I didn't like the belittling of Sunderland, Mackham in Milan thing. I didn't like the various things, sitting lying in bed with the trophies and stuff. But that's him. That's what he does. Just got to accept it, At least he wasn't standing with a replica shirt on, down in a pint of lager at Arsenal, So you've got to give the guy. a little bit of credit for some of the stuff that he's done, but he's gone now, as far as I'm concerned. He's moved on, and we are appointing a new CEO and a new sporting director. These appointments have got to be right. If we get these right, we're back on track. And we haven't had a bad window. John. We needed a keeper. We've signed one. We needed to get rid of a couple of keepers. We've done that. We needed a centre half. We've got one in. We needed a right winger. We've got one in. We needed a midfielder. We've got one in. We just need to sort the centre forward situation out, and we've had a good window, and we've still got January to come. And if Isak goes for 150 million or slightly less, we've got a hell of a lot of money to spend in January if we need to. Winning the cup last year was great, but it does give us unrealistic optimism, I guess. We're not going to do that, every year. Well, that's where we're aiming to be. The chairman says he wants to be number one, but at the same time, it needs to be right behind the scenes. But I'm not sure if he's got influence at the club, John. I personally think the Isak statement was done because they've learned Liverpool have gone to another target. I think it was a last-ditched attempt from Isak to get Newcastle at a lower price. I don't even know whether they're interested in him anymore, Bada Bing. I really don't. Have they gone to another target? I mean, they've sold somebody else this week at a profit, that could still come back in with a bid. A lot can happen in the next 12 days. Watch this space. Do you think it would be best if we just ignore the Swede? He's a turn up and stop talking about it. We can't do that, Jeff, can we? Because Sky today have tried, but straight away they're back in with Isak, as part of that main sports news. As he took over this morning briefly, but Isak, I've seen him. He's seen his image on there. We can't ignore it, Jeff. It's the proverbial elephant in the room, and we've got 12 more days of it, so we've just got to accept it until something happens. That's it, but we can't ignore it. We've just got to embrace it and hope that the best happens for our football club. Liverpool have been blown away by Ekitike and think that's made them target a versatile winger forward instead of Isak. Okay, well, I don't watch Liverpool's day-to-day dealings. I only see what I see on Sky. Ekitike is clearly, a decent striker. Out of all of them, that's the one who I'm disappointed about losing. I know, I would love to have seen him come to Newcastle. And it's only 5 or 6 weeks ago, we were all talking about potentially having Ekitike and Isak playing alongside each other, which would have been fantastic. But yeah, we just got to accept that's where we're at and move on, and just hope that we can shackle Ekitike on Monday night. Chippers, do you think problems off the field happened when Darren Eales arrived and he was the cause of the off-field arrest? No, I don't. No, I don't at all. I just think I do think, and we've all said it on this platform on numerous occasions, I do think that there was issues between, the likes of Eales, Silverstone, Amanda, Mirdad, Jamie, Ruben. I just genuinely think ultimately that's just nature, that's just business, that's just what happens. Not everybody is going to get on with each other. So yeah, I don't think it was all down to Darren Eales. I just think collectively egos can play their part. Okay, halfway through the show, play the ads. I'll be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. Big thank you to Sefton Mag last night who subscribed to the fanzine, and we need you to subscribe to it. We'd like to get to 100 subscriptions. We did hit 200 last year. I think it was just because it was a novelty. But if you can, please go to nufcmatters.co.uk. It is £25 for 4 issues. We will send them out during the season, and all proceeds go to Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. It's a non-profit fanzine for us. Me and the guys will write it and put it together. And you just need to subscribe. I think we're around about 62, 63 issues have been subscribed, which is still a great amount. But it would be nice to get to 100. That would be good for the printer as well, of course. And a big thanks to United Group Travel, of course, who have agreed to sponsor the printing again this year. So there's a wonderful opportunity to make a few quid for the charity. The link is posted in the YouTube chat. So thank you to everybody so far who has subscribed to that. Willock has been terrible for the last few seasons, Steve, says John. He has, but he's also been, really just affected by injuries, mate. And that's been the problem. Failure to recover and then picking up new injuries. And that sometimes happens to players. So terrible. I agree. But he's just been beset by injuries. And that is the worst thing that can happen to a footballer. Isaac's statement, 1,000 words has said nothing. Where was his admission or request to leave? Where was his apology to Howe and the fans? He claims plenty has been said, yet his agent won't shut up. Craig, couldn't have put it better myself. Gordon as a striker doesn't work, says John. Willock will be interesting, but what about Barnes? Great finisher. Yeah, I'm still not 100% convinced on Barnes either. We need a proper striker. That's what we need. We need a proper striker. That's what we need. Super Mac, my hero since 71. Mr. C. Dan Smith, good morning. Yeah, I know he's a lot of people's heroes. Is this a story made up by his dodgy agent for his own benefit? Which story, Jeff? Which story? John says he was lucky enough to see Super Mac in black and white. Happy days. Chris Dawson, morning. PIF have been very compliant so far in terms of not upsetting the EPL. Do you think there is a possibility that they start playing hardball a bit more and start challenging PSR and FFP? I'm not sure it's their way, Chris. I mean, we've won a trophy without being able to go and do what everybody else can do. They slowly go about their business, and again, that's not a criticism. I just think that, like I said before, I think our expectations have been raised because we've done so well so quickly, and I don't think anybody expected, to be in 2 Carabao Cup finals and to actually win one, be in the Champions League 2 seasons out of 3 after, surviving relegation and Howe's first season in a bit. So I just think that I think we continue in the same vein. I just don't think PIF want to be the ones that get made a big example of. It's the same thing, though. I don't think that they're getting sick of running Newcastle either. I don't think they're getting sick of it. I think they see it as a challenge. But I do think that they'll continue in the same vein, my opinion. If Isaac stays, it'll take weeks before he's in the mindset for a team training, then time to get match fit. Then the January. I don't think it'll take that long. He's ticking over. He's keeping fit. I think if he's back, I think he'll be back for the Champions League games. I think that's when we'll see him return. If Isaac stays and plays again, he'll always be accused of not trying if he's got a pure game. I don't see him playing again, says Jason. Okay. Home debut against Liverpool, that hat-trick. What a day that was for us. Yeah, Supermac did a wonderful programme on here with Gibbo about it. Can you see the chairman sanctioning the sale of the best player to a club who should be a major rival in the future? Do the Saudis do that sort of thing? I don't see it happening at all. I don't think they want to go to Liverpool. And that's because I do think that there's other things at play behind the scenes, like I mentioned at the start of the programme, John. I do think that there are issues between the respective owners on a different playing field, my opinion. Dropped his statement during the awards because he wasn't getting the attention he craves. It'll play in Liverpool's hands on every level if there's an anti-Isaac chant on Monday. But what do you think? I do think there'll be that kind of reaction. I think it'll be white hot, mate. Isaac's comeback interview with Martin Bashir. Didn't Martin Bashir end up in a bit of bother? I'm not sure. Is it where is Martin Bashir now? Because he did he do the Diana interview? Oh yes. This is what happened. They did the Panorama documentary, and Lord Dyson found that Bashir acted in a deceitful manner by commissioning fake bank statements to get an interview with the princess. That's what happened. I knew there was some controversy, so it won't be with Martin Bashir. We should go to PSG and offer Isaac to them in exchange for Ramos and 80 million. I mean, it's a nice thought. Tony will have tax problems as well, though. Morning all. Have been listening. Great show. Mozza, good morning. Good to see you in the chat. If Isaac leaves, what about Wisser and another striker on loan? That way you're not committed to that player and you can search and identify an Isaac replacement and get them in January next summer. I mean, the loan market's not something Newcastle seem to have explored at all, RSL 76. I think, I genuinely think that Newcastle should make more of the loan market. It seems to be very rare. Ramsdale, of course, on loan, but it's not something we've done on a regular basis. We've gone out and we've bought players. But yeah, I mean, that could be an option. It could be an option. We are getting linked with Wolves as centre forward quite a bit. Not sure how anyone feels about that in the chat. Cisco made great routers, a return to Route 1. Does the Mitchell situation highlight the importance of recruiting the right people for key positions like CEO and sporting director? They've got to be on the same page as the guy in charge of the team. Yeah, it does. And I think I made that point earlier on. We need the right people in. We really, really do. How could we trust Isaac on the pitch again, says David. If he missed an easy chance, would we believe it wasn't missed on purpose? Yeah, well, I mean, if he comes back in and he apologizes, it's got to be with a clean sheet. We just got to accept it and we'll move on. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. But if he scores the winner against Sunderland, all will be forgiven. That's the kind of thing that happens, isn't it? As far as football fans are concerned. Cheers, Alan. You're there for the launch. Invited by Georgia Floodlights on. That's good. Well, enjoy it, mate. Let us know how it goes. I'm looking forward to going to see it next week. Phil Shuttleworth, you mentioned on the professionals, why don't we ask about Harry Kane for Isak? I know his wages are high, but could we not get around this? Well, I think, from a commercial point of view, Harry Kane would be a great signing, but watching him this morning, he looks very happy. Won his first trophy and looks very happy. So I don't think that'll happen. I mean, he's a commercial dream, shirt sales, etc., etc. It's pie in the sky, though. I just genuinely don't think he'll come to Newcastle. Although, the one temptation would be to come and beat Alan's record in a black and white shirt, wouldn't it? Our new signing seemed to have settled well from the training video yesterday. It was lovely to see, but helps when they already know some players. Yeah, Mozza, you're right. What improvement would you like to the stadium? Quickly. If you're talking about improving St. James's Park, it needs more seats, mate. It just needs more seats. And the Platinum Club needs to be addressed immediately, because out of all the corporate areas, it's been left to rot. But I would imagine, because everyone on the 10-year deal is now paying full price, that may well have been addressed. We will find out on Monday. Feel for our new signings. They haven't had the publicity they deserve, but they're looking good in training. Yes, Les, I think you're right. Liverpool have proved that they will wait for the right player. I don't think they'll be too impressed with the way things have gone, RS. I don't think they'll be impressed with the way that he's dealt with it. Good morning, Steve, lad. I love these live Q&As. I admire honesty and empathy. Top man. Thank you, Eamon. I hope you are well, my friend. Much appreciated. How many times in the last couple of months have we been interested in a player and someone else has come in to sign the player? It might happen with Wissa. Is it all a coincidence? I mean, Malcolm made the point last night. Supermarket made the point. Everything's been played out in the open. Why? How? Why has that happened? Did Mitchell, split the dummy and tell everybody who we're going for? Have the cartel decided that they're going to spoil our summer because we're there to win a trophy? Those are the kind of rumours that are flying around. But it is annoying. And we've gone from doing things quietly to everything being on the front pages. It's no coincidence. Something's definitely happening. If Isak is true to his word, put in a transfer request, but he won't. He'll lose a lot of money in a way of loyalty bonus and sponsorship. Exactly. Said that yesterday. Got a bit quiet on the link with Paqueta. Would love to see him come. Do you think we're still interested in him? Craig Hope said we weren't interested in Phil at all. So I'm not sure whether that's, a goer or not, mate. Are you aware there's a constant stream of made-up stories about the club? Clickbait. Yes, Jeff, I am. In fact, I preach about it quite a bit on here. Forget the Isak saga for a moment. Do you think it's negligence that the club haven't managed to replace Wilson since June the 1st? Yeah, Mark, I do, but I think that they have been trying with Wissa. Wissa is Wilson's replacement, and it's a good one at that. So, it ties in, doesn't it? It ties in. It really does. And I think you need to have a yin and yang. You need to have a big guy, little guy. You need to have two completely different forwards. You need to have a traditional number 9, and you need a goal poacher. And that's what we need. But yeah, the Isak thing is completely throwing our forward plans into a bit of a mess. Do not sell Isak to Liverpool Football Club. Not only will it strengthen massively, but we will not hear the last of it. Exactly, Colin. Off to see Leazers tomorrow as well, Colin. Thank you for the heads up. Everton and West Ham look terrible this season. I think Brentford will struggle. I can see 2 of these 3 going down. Yeah, I still think the Mackems will struggle. They haven't won the league because they've beaten West Ham at home. I still think Sunderland will be there or thereabouts. I might be wrong, of course. 25 minutes behind. To be fair, looking at Mitchell, he sold Kelly and Miggy for good money, says Ian. Arguably was behind Park coming in and Cordero. Both will be massive players for us. Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make. We can judge Mitchell in due course. Great show, Steve. Keep me going at work. Rob, how are you, mate? Hope all is good and hope your event is doing well. Rob's doing an event across an island. I'm sure he'll give us the flyer and we'll promote it as time goes on. But if anyone is in Ireland, he's doing a Newcastle Legends event out there. Rob's got a bit of a history apart from being a designer, but had been a very good compere. So he's going to try his hand at doing one of them over in the northeast. I ran on the pitch and patted Superman on the back as an 8-year-old. I'm sure he doesn't remember me. That's excellent, Gary. Would you walk away from Wizzer, Steve? No, Blue Rhythm Boy, I wouldn't. He wants to come. We want him. We need to pay the money that is acceptable. I wouldn't walk away from that at all. Very good player. Bashir did Michael Jackson as well, didn't he? I'm likely wrong as usual. Yeah, he did. He did a spate of these, didn't he? Bashir did he not do the Stephen Lawrence suspect interviews as well? Did a few. Very good interviewer. Just sad that he his career was tarnished with that reveal. PSG and PIF do $1 billion deals. FSG, sorry. Yeah, Fenway Group. Do $1 billion deals out of football. I doubt there's dark arts. I think they both respect each other. I think did they not fall out, Ian, over the Live Golf? Yeah, 25 minutes behind. You look at me question, but I think they fell out over Live Golf, mate. I'll be looking in Alvarez type long term, says Gary. TalkSport say little known rule can enable Isaac to force through a transfer. Not sure about that. I saw somebody put that, out into the domain yesterday, but I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to find that link. What local attractions would you take a foreign visitor to see? Ideally, Beamish, because I think that it as a whole gives you a great indication of what our Northeast heritage is all about. I would take them to Kinran in Bishop. That's a wonderful show. If you haven't seen it, I would make them go to Newcastle and walk up Gray's Monument. It does open occasionally. Stand at the top of Gray's Monument, and do the tunnel tour of Newcastle as well, and of course the Angel of the North, Jeff. Just look at Arsenal yesterday as he was going to Spurs, then bang out of nowhere. Arsenal come out of nowhere. That is how it's done. Yeah, I mean that's what I mean about Isaac. It can happen overnight. It really can, and we'll be the last to know. Needs to be repercussions for players going on as Isaac and Wissa are. They should be punished as if they'd put a transfer request in. Yeah, Blue Rhythm Boy. I mean, player power. An agent power is something which we've seen over the years. These aren't the first two players to do what these two have done. I reeled off a list of names, didn't I, the other day? Pierre Van Hooijdonk, Carlos Tevez, Paul Scholes, to name but three. But yeah, punishment it depends on whether the breach of contract. But putting a transfer request in, they lose lots of money. So what you need really is there needs to be, on the agent side, if somebody says at some point at the football club, a person in power says to an agent, we will give you a pay rise next year, then what should the agent do? The agent should say, thanks very much. Can I have that in writing, please? And that's it. Simple as that. Get it in writing, and legally the club doesn't have a problem. That's why an agent's job is to do that. Now, we're led to believe Isaac's guy isn't an agent, he's an advisor. So I genuinely don't think that, I don't think that, from our position anyway, that we can do a great deal about it. But yeah, I just think there needs to be more, maybe punishment for agents who don't follow the rules and don't follow the regulations. And if something is, and same for clubs, but if a promise is made, it should be adhered to, but you should have it in writing. It's as simple as that, really. Wouldn't it be great if when Isaac is reintegrated, he comes off the bench to not booze, but complete and utter silence? What a message that would send. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to think about that at the moment. I just want to concentrate on Newcastle getting themselves in the right place for Liverpool on Monday and beating Liverpool on Monday. The Isaac story it'll be a circus surrounding that. I mean, we've got time for it to be resolved before Monday. 4 days. You'd like to think it could be sorted. Imagine what it's going to be like in the boardroom with the Newcastle and Liverpool directors. And it's bank holiday as well, so people will be well served. It's going to be an interesting day, that's for certain, and evening. Philip says, if you could sign any player with no PS or FFP, who would you sign? Mine would be Yamal, whatever price that would be. Yeah, I would say Yamal as well. I mean, he's a very good player, and I have seen him play on numerous occasions. Who hasn't watched him? Yeah, he is fantastic. I'd still like to see us sign, be great to sign a Haaland, I think Haaland would be a legend at Newcastle. He'd be fantastic, again, that would be that's dream world, isn't it? But Haaland in a black and white shirt, banging goals in, would be fantastic. I think he'd be, he'd love the service from Gordon, Barnes and Elanga and co. But yeah, Yamal, but Haaland for me as well. Bashir would lead the subject. I believe the spin would be positive. Then when the documentary came out, it would be edited in such a way it was negative. I'm not a fan. Yeah. That's TV in general. I learned the hard way, Blue Rhythm Boy, when I was young, doing sport interviews, and they would make you sound as if you were talking for the fans. And I got a bit of stick, in the 90s, where people go and don't speak for me, and who does Steve Ray think he is, blah blah blah. But I just started saying to people, I'll only do the interview if it's live, and then that way I could say, in my opinion, you'll hear me say it on here quite a few times as well, and it's because I trained myself to not speak for supporters. And I was never speaking for supporters in the first place. I was only giving my opinion, but I learned very quickly that was what you should do. Just read we've been linked with the loan for Richarlison. Jesus wept. Nah, that's just paper talk, that Mark. Paper talk. Has to be. And why would we finance that at the expense of losing Wissa, which is what would happen? Beamish is part of the crowd for its knockout in 1976 for my first visit. Oh, right. I didn't realise it's not going to have been there, but of course I was only 4 years of age, David. So, any news regarding Amanda Staveley? Steve Hasey mentioned a few weeks ago. I think that was wishful thinking from Steve. I think that ship sailed behind the scenes. I really do, Andrew. I think Amanda coming back and being part of the club on a employed basis as some kind of front woman would be great, but not as an owner. I think that ship sailed, and I still think that if it is true that she left or they left because that the dynamics weren't right between them and other people at the club, which of course is just an allegation. But if that was the case, then those people are still at the club. So never go back as well, Andrew. Never go back. A lot of people say. What were your favourite nightclubs in town? Legends, probably back in the day. I worked there as well, of course. C nightclub was excellent. In its infancy, it was great. A great place to go. The Stage Door, which ended up being the Cosmic Ballroom, was great as well. So probably those three places, mate. Will the Liverpool directors turn up? Of course they will. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who is the official representative. I mean, Fenway Sports and PIF don't regularly go to games, I wouldn't have imagined, but there'll be people there who represent them. I would be very surprised if we don't see Yasser there. He usually comes to the first game and the last game, doesn't he? So we may see Yasser Al-Rumayyan at St James's Park. It would be a strong signal, I think, if he was there. Other than Wissa, do you think the club will sign anyone else as in another midfielder? Yeah, I mean, I think midfield's fine. I mean, we still haven't got that kind of playmaker, that Peter Beardsley type of player that I was talking about at the back end of last season. But we can't sign everybody in this window, and I think they will keep their powder dry for January. I think they will try and get in at, 2 forwards, and if Isaac goes, of course. But yeah, I genuinely think that the midfield may be okay for now, and they've already shown that they're not prepared to let Miley go. So yeah, I think it's fine for now. Madison's an incognito in the Oxford. Interesting, David. How do you feel about Leeds as a local rival? They're not a local rival, Jeff. Even when we're in the Premier League on our own against Leeds, it's not a derby. It's not a local rival. Geographically, you might point and say it is, but nah, it's not. It's a good game though. I love Leeds, and I will be there. 3 certain things in life: death, taxes, and Jamie Carragher being completely unbearable on next week's Monday Night Football. Journalism is the same. Never drop your guard. Yes, Jeff, I know you're right. No such thing as bad publicity. I beg to differ on occasions. I wonder why the club haven't made a move for Waltmard. I secretly hope they're working on it in the background. It'd be worth 100 million in a couple of years' time. Yeah, that's a good shout. Staged all those stairs and sticky carpets. Yeah, there were sticky stairs as well. Mayfair Ballroom, and so many great gigs at the Mayfair, from AC/DC to the Clash. And I'm going to see AC/DC tonight, David. I'm looking forward to that. Stinking cold, but I shall be there. Who was the first band you saw live? Oh, the first band. I think it was the Buzzcocks, you know. I'll have the tickets somewhere. I've seen the Buzzcocks. I saw the Buzzcocks 5 or 6 times. I think it was the Buzzcocks. It might have been After Midnight, Mike Hall's band at the Corner House, actually. And they are obviously a renowned band. They're a cover band. But might have been them in the Corner House. So I'll revise my answer. C Nightclub in Buffalo Joe's tragic. They sit empty now, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I mean, C Nightclub now is empty. It was a music venue, the Riverside. That's empty. In Buffalo Joe's, yeah, that's all sealed up. The Boat in the 90s was great every Saturday night, John. Yeah, it was funny. The Boat, wasn't it? Waltmart is different class. World beater in a couple of years. Who was your favorite comic? Kenny Everett. Probably. If you're talking about stand-up comedians, it's Peter Kay. I liked Tommy Cooper. Ken Dodd was good. Ken Dodd died. Did he? No, Doddy. 133 in the chat. Yes, Les. We've got, how many are watching live? 629 of you watching live. Those of you who are watching on X, please jump over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters, and hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week, and tomorrow night we'll be back at 5 o'clock with the 3 amigos. Buzzcocks, great live. First time with Joy Division support. And yeah, the Buzzcocks are fantastic. First big band live was AC/DC, November 1980. Blown away, says Gary Leonard Skinner at the City Hall. Wow, Jeff. Portland and Felling, classiest pub in the Northeast. Hey, no wrong with that, Michael. Great boozer, the Portland. Had many a good night in there. Am I assuming that if Wissa puts a transfer request in, Brentford will highly likely accept it? He'll lose his loyalty bonus, but we could pay it to hurry things along. Yeah, Paul, that could happen, mate. It could happen. I think the Wissa deal, you're looking at the likes of Craig Hope and that, and they're building it up as almost done. So let's hope it is, mate. Let's hope it is. We need that boost up front. Coy Bandit says if we do sell Isaac, we should put a 10% sell-on clause just to upset him. I would agree. We should do that with most players. Peter Kay's misheard lyrics sketch is hilarious. It is. And David says first gig was Thin Lizzy at the City Hall. Some great bands. I feel a club statement put the Isaac issue to bed this window, assuming he stays. Will the cloud hanging and media noise detriment our season? Bruno and others are fizzing. Yeah, I mean, we know that the dressing room will be split. There will be players who support Isaac, who are friends of his, and there will be players who are really annoyed at him. And again, we can't speculate on what's gone on because we don't know. I know that some other people are, but it's pointless doing that because nobody knows directly what has been said by who. We can take it that some people will not be happy, though. I do think the club statement was excellent. It was well timed. Once the 2nd of September comes, the only cloud that will be hanging is it'll be hanging over Isaac's head if he doesn't apologise and doesn't reintegrate because he's in World Cup year and he won't be getting a game. 3 American comedians worth a look: Matt Rife, Bill Burr, Gary Owen. Proper comedians. They do good crowd work. Not really into American comedy, but everyone to their taste, Mark, and you do live there. Mine was basically Rollers at the City Hall. Wow. And apart from Blake 7, what other sci-fi series did you enjoy? Star Trek, the original, of course, Jeff. Space 1999 was excellent. Day of the Triffids, you could push it and say that was sci-fi. But yeah. Byrne and Shaw haven't put a foot wrong, but Chow and Botman are the future. How long until they start, in your opinion? When somebody gets injured or suspended. That's when we see, people come in, I guess. But we've got plenty of games and plenty of opportunities for people to be integrated into the team. But by all accounts, Chow has settled right in. Botman, let's just hope he can have an injury-free season. And when he does get in, he can be the player that we know he can be. Girls at school had tartan scarves around their wrists. Yeah, that was with the basically rollers. Not into American comedy either. I find it lame, but those three are different. Cheers, Mark. Text us then, Mark, if you can. If Isaac sticks to his guns, ruining his own career is in his hands, yeah, I would agree. And do you think you would do another sci-fi convention? Yeah, Rob. I mean, listen, we've raised 2,711 quid from the Blake 7 convention last weekend. It was fantastic. It was great. A lot of hard work to put it together, but thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not going to, I am walking away from events, Rob, as you know. I'm not really doing events these days. I'm picking and choosing events that I want to do. And I'm raising money for dementia. So would I do another one? Yes, probably. Will I do it next year? I don't know. But yeah, I probably will do another one. I enjoyed it. It was good. And the people who came, the cast members and the crew, they enjoyed it as well. Isaac can't be allowed to make this group toxic. It's been our strength. Also, what's the chances of facilitating a low move for a fee with obligation to buy next summer for slightly less? It could happen, mate. It could happen. John Wyndham frightened a generation. He did indeed. Cheers, Steve. Let's get Whisper in. I do think Isaac will go, but I've been wrong before. Enjoy the marvellous ACDC. Cheers, Davey. Was it a Saturday night and were you dancing? Steve, did you ever have an interesting bike as a kid? I had a Rally Elf with stabilizers, which fell off in the street and I was ridiculed. Jeff, as I had to carry it home. And for a couple of weeks, my mates nicknamed me Selwyn Froggatt. T-Rex City Hall 71 for Kevin. Iron Maiden at the City Hall for Jim. And that's the thing, mate. You have to enjoy it 100%. Cheers, Mark. Got that text. That is the hour done. It flies over when I'm by myself. Mark says, should Newcastle suggest Whisper train and play for Brentford until he is signed? Maybe they have, but they can't dictate what people do. I did have a chopper as well, David. Red and yellow one. No backers sign on the back as well. I'll finish with this. Start, bench, sell, Beardsley, Ginola, Gaza. Bench, I would bench Gaza. I'd play Beardsley and I'd sell Ginola. Thank you, everybody. Back tomorrow night, 5 o'clock live with the amigos. Have a great day, whatever you are doing. And don't forget, if you are watching on Twitter, jump over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. I do 7 shows a week.